Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming. Is this a little bit loud? Just a little bit. Thank you all for coming, especially the ones that are here on your own free will and didn't have to be here. So it's a beautiful night here on campus. It's great to be back at the University of Portland and in the beautiful city of Portland. My wife and I moved here in the mid-'80s and really have some great fond memories of the city. We bought our first house here, we had our first child here, and we made a lot of lifelong friends. So it's a great place for us, historically. My wife joined me tonight. She's here to prove that behind every good man there's an astonished woman. She has two roles. The first is a fact checker for my remarks tonight, and the second is she's defending her world championship for tax-free shopping. We had a lot of fun in Portland, and we gained a real appreciation for a lot of things, like craft beer, granola, Birkenstocks with socks, Troutdale, and flannel as formal wear. So lots of fond memories here. As Professor Brooks mentioned, I look after the international business at Costco, everything outside of North America. When I tell people that I do that job, if they're over 30, they always say something like, "Oh, you have to travel." Oh man. If I tell people under 30, they say, "Oh, you get to travel." So it's a completely different set. I think I have the best job in the company with them, and it is a great company, but probably the best job because of the wide variety of things I get exposed to. I went to business school here in my MBA 20-some years ago, and really this is what you go to business school for, is for these kinds of opportunities. Different challenges by country, different governments to deal with, different sets of competition. Lots of interesting challenges, very rewarding experience. Lots of language and cultural differences as well. Somewhere along the road tonight, I'm going to touch on the subject of leadership. And I wanted to start off with this quick quote. It's by Harold S. Geenen. He was a past CEO of IT&T in the 60s and 70s. Interesting fellow, did lots of good things, built a huge business. Did some fairly unscrupulous things along the way too, but he was good with quotes. And I like this one. And because while they're probably born leaders out in the world, this quote should give hope to the rest of us. If you accept that there is a difference between being a manager and a leader, and that difference lies in the ability to inspire those that we work with in the organization over simply just directing their activities, then I believe that we can learn that ability as a result of our collective life experiences, our educational experiences, and our exposure to business and organizations. So with that said, a little bit about my background. I had my first job when I was 17 years old in a restaurant, and I was fired 2 months later. A real life lesson. Discovered that if you don't work, you don't get paid, and sort of no taking, no laundry. From there I went and flipped hamburgers for a couple of years until I got my dream job, which was bagging groceries and pushing shopping carts at a grocery store. I got a 25-cent an hour raise, I had a union, I thought life was good. And I worked my way up through the ranks in the grocery store business until one day in the break room I saw an 8.5 by 11 poster advertising a USC scholarship. So I applied for that a couple times, didn't get it the first time, but finally did get it. Married my wife, and we packed up and went to Los Angeles. Attended USC for a couple of years, finished my undergraduate degree, and then carried on working with the company I was with for the next 6 or 7 years. Great experience in Los Angeles, we had a lot of fun. But after being with that company for nearly 15 years, and I wound up running a couple of big stores, similar to Fred Meyer's, they were called Gemco. big food operations, non-food operations, so it gave me a lot of really good experience. But after 15 years with that company and that division of the company had to sell. They had to sell because the management didn't keep up with the times, and they had to sell that portion off to keep up and keep ahead of a takeover of the main company. So all of a sudden, 25,000 employees in this business were out of work, including myself. And I felt it was another one of these life lessons, like getting fired from my first job, that you can tell when leadership goes bad, because the people that get hurt along the way, we have a responsibility to the people we lead to take care of the business and make sure that it's profitable when we provide opportunities. So another good life lesson there. But it was an opportunity to join another company, and at that time Costco was just starting up in the Northwest, and I joined Costco. That's what brought us to Portland. I was able to finish my MBA here at U of P, and life moved on. About 2 months after I completed my MBA, I was promoted to vice president, and then we merged in '93 to senior vice president of Europe, and then my current job that I hold as executive vice president international. And I've been in this job now for about 9 years. I couldn't really address a class of high caliber business students without talking a little bit about our company, Costco, and how we began. I'll begin with a little bit of history here, if the thing cooperates. The wholesale club business was started in 1976 in San Diego with the Price Club, and it was started by Salt Price. 7 years later in Seattle, in Seattle, Washington, Costco began the first operations. And in 1993, both companies merged, and we formed Price Costco. Today, we're known around the world as Costco Wholesale. And we're in the wholesale club business. People pay a fee to shop with us, as many of you may know. We have limited assortment of products, always high quality, but always great value. So that's the basic premise of the business. This is the first warehouse club in San Diego, Marina Boulevard, 1976. And that's what we looked like in Seattle 7 years later, just off the waterfront. These are old, used factory buildings, both of them. This is the building I ran in Portland. It's just off Sandy Boulevard. When we bought this place, the corn, we were in cornfields, and the corn would grow so high you couldn't see the building. But it was always one of the most profitable buildings in our company. I took these pictures way back when because we were so proud of the way they looked. See our fine electronics departments, business machines, office machines, white goods, beautifully displayed. We always had a knack for bringing in unique items, and we have that today. We call it the treasure hunt atmosphere. You can see the windsurfing sail there. Fabulous display of cameras. These big boxes are actually televisions, but back then nobody would sell us direct, so we had to take what we could get in brown boxes. We did score a Panasonic TV, color TV actually. Back then we were writing our own signs, writing them by hand. Fabulous display of fresh meat and seafood, and of course, beautiful produce merchandise coincidentally next to the tires. We were proud of these. Fortunately, things have moved on. This is Costco today. This is what we look like in our original building in downtown Seattle. This is what my old Portland building looks like today. Much brighter. This is where we look. We're pretty much around North America. Single-story buildings on probably 14 to 16 acres. This is in Canada, Fredericton. This is in Maebashi, Japan, just north of Tokyo. Inside, we're much brighter, much cleaner. Merchandise is more exciting, a lot more color. Televisions have improved a great deal, as well as cameras. We sell fine jewelry, expensive fine jewelry. A lot of definition to our departments these days. Big bookseller. But I think the largest seller of fine wines in the country, including the largest seller of Dom Perignon in the world. Lots of innovation has gone on over the years in driving efficiency in our business. We're all about economies of scale and efficiency. And this box of Cheerios, this little girl is holding, it's as big as her. It's a good example. When we first opened in the 80s, General Mills wouldn't sell us any Cheerios at all, much less a great big box like that, custom designed for our business. We had to rely on a brand called Krusteaz from Continental Mills. They made an imitation Cheerios in a big plastic bag, and we sold the heck out of that. But over time, this is the way we were able to sort of win over suppliers and have them help us in our business, reducing costs all through the distribution system, both for their benefit and ours and our members. Lots of innovation in packaging. We actually use the empty boxes that these oils come in at our front end to pack the groceries as people leave. A lot of innovation in terms of palletizing products as they come in so they can be moved with forklifts without having to hand stack at a typical grocery store would do. Carry apparel, brand name jeans, brand name golf shirts, and so on. We also have an assortment of our own brand, Kirkland Signature, and this is a house brand. We're doing about 25% of our business today, and it ranges from shirts, dress shirts, to canned chicken. About 250 different items. Fresh meat has moved on a great deal, and it's a big part of our business around the world. This is a shot of our butcher shop in South Korea. Produce has also moved on, no longer merchandise next to the tires. Everything always in big boxes, though, and larger sizes. We find that we can save people more money and move it through our system more efficiently if they're sold in larger packs. This is a seafood roadshow that we had in Japan. We sell a different array of products, and especially in the fresh areas and food areas in our various countries. You wouldn't see this in downtown Tacoma. Bakery is always a big part of our business. Dinner rolls is #1 item in Japan. Same huge displays. Of course, hot dogs. Hot dogs are a big part of our business. That $1.50 hot dog and a Coke is the best deal going. We actually had to build a $20 million plant to keep that price at $1.50. But it's all USDA choice beef. And we've sold 109 million hot dogs in the last 12 months. Costco today, the business started out, the original business plan called for 12 locations in the Northwest, ranging from Portland all the way up to Vancouver, British Columbia. Today we have 624 locations. You can see where we're located around the world. Today we're the 2nd largest retailer in the United States, 7th largest in the world, number 24 on the Fortune 500, and a market cap somewhere north of $44 billion. Sales in the last 12 months, LTM is just over $100 billion. We have 88 million square feet of space. Sounds like a lot, but Walmart adds that much every single year. We average about 143,000 square feet per warehouse too, and we do about $150 million per store, which is double what a typical Walmart location would do. 174,000 great employees around the world and 2 million transactions a day. And we charge a membership fee, as I mentioned, and we have about 37 million households around the world that have cards, and there's 68 million cards in people's wallets. So we have more than one card per household. And we renew those memberships at a rate of 90% in the US and Canada, and slightly below that in the rest of the world. And those membership fees annually contribute
is
$2
a
billion.
big player among big boxes, an addiction to its devoted shoppers. There are 64 million of us, give or take, with Costco membership cards in our wallets, and they have made bulk shopping a science. There really is a trick to getting us by all that stuff.
It's price. I mean, Costco is price. It's price, price, price. That's what gets you in.
I know the parking lot's always crowded.
At Costco?
Yeah.
I'm usually in there every day.
Fight for the space, and it's just, that's a real, yeah, there's a real problem. There's a lot of customers, and they make a lot of money.
Hello, hello. Hey, Gloria, so ready to go? When? Thought we were doing a Costco run.
You ever shop at Costco?
All the time.
You buy in bulk?
I do, yeah.
Chris buys in bulk.
I bet he does.
I got 106 rolls of toilet paper in the house right there. You know, I just can't get out of Costco's, man. I buy in bulk.
Yeah, I do too.
I just like saying buying in bulk.
I know you've got your membership cards at Costco.
On any given weekend, Betty, you'll find me at Costco. The largest U.S. warehouse club chain posted its first quarter profit numbers at top analyst estimates here. It's focused on low prices, lower customers. Comparable store sales at Costco rose 6% for the quarter. And revenue from membership fees, yeah, that's up 14%, man. This, I usually wear Zegna and Hermes ties. This is a Kirkland tie.
I'm sorry,
Costco.
I'm going to touch this tie. I usually touch my
Listen, it's made in Italy. Look at this. Look at this. It's all silk. It's made in Italy. What's the
Fine, it's the tie.
My point is that this is a $100 tie that I got for $17 in Costco.
In fact, Costco's the largest retailer of wine in this country.
So much to save, and you don't have to buy these in bulk. You can buy a single bottle of wine. You can save about 15 to 30% compared to your local liquor store or online.
It is famous for stretching the family dollar, from toilet paper to televisions, t-shirts to T-bones. Costco is an American staple for staples. But now the retailer, known for deep discounts, is selling fine art on its website. Costco says it keeps the cost below those of most art galleries by charging no more than a 14% markup on all retail items. And get this, your Warhol even comes with a money-back guarantee if you don't like it. That just might be better than 15 minutes of fame.
Costco sells diamonds too.
And not just tiny diamonds. Angie Boger in Lamite says Costco sold 100,000 carats last year alone.
Costco rated very high for the quality of its fresh meats, very high. And yet Costco is about 30% less expensive than Safeway or Albertsons.
So you can get, actually, at Costco right now, a whole organic chicken is $2.29 a pound versus $3.99 a pound in the conventional supermarket.
Big difference.
That's a big savings. And it's freezable too, which is great. And then the 5 pounds of organic mixed veggies, this giant bag right here is $5.59, freezable, it's very good for you. The same amount comparable in the supermarket, $14.
Are you serious?
Like, that's a lot of money.
It's almost 3 times the difference.
So use those memberships, get organic at those warehouse clubs. It's a big difference.
Very, very good tip.
How many rolls of toilet paper do you have at your house right now?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at how many I go through. Because
I know that you had a weight loss, but
it's not just using, it's not just, I have people over and stuff like that, but also I like to vandalize homes.
Oh.
When I gotta go to Rite Aid and buy them individually. No, you haven't even seen the full. I have like a storage room that's like a miniature Costco. It's just full of food I will never eat.
Do you go to Costco yourself?
Every Saturday, yes.
What possibly could you get there every Saturday?
I'll take you along sometime if you like.
I would love to go.
All I know is I'm thinking of getting a bigger truck because it doesn't really fit. That's how much stuff I buy at the Costco every year.
You're a hoarder.
The business has moved on a lot since we started 30 years ago. As far as international, we have expanded the business in a variety of ways internationally. Some of our businesses we inherited as part of our merger with the Price Club. Some of the businesses we have joint ventures with. Some of the businesses we started on our own and rented some of ourselves. I'll run through them real quick here. Today we have about 28% of our space outside of the United States, and we're doing about 29% of our sales volume. Profits on that side, again, 28% of the space produces about 43% of the profits. So our businesses outside the United States are doing very well. It's being well received, and we've got great, strong ROIs. Again, the first venture outside of the U.S. and Canada in '85. Thought it would be just an easy execution, just drive a truck full of merchandise across the border and set up shop. But it turned out to be very complicated. Lots of different regulations and laws in relation to getting products into the country and packaging and so on. Lots of different labor laws, planning and zoning laws and so on. So lots of complications in that first entry. But today we have 85 locations there, and we think we can get to 100 on a population of only 3,300 people. That was followed in '92 with Mexico. This was an inherited partnership. We have 50-50 company that we just purchased back about a year and a half ago. Terrific business, 32 and 33 locations now, and a population of 100 with different economics. We'll probably get to about 50 locations here over time. That was followed by the UK, where we entered 93, had a couple of partners here, Carrefour from France, and Willis from the UK. We since have purchased both of those back out and own the business entirely. We have 23 locations and on a population of about 60, 65 million. We'll get to probably 40 locations here. And in South Korea, we opened our first building in Seoul. This was another licensing agreement set up by our merger partner, Price Club. And we have since purchased this back down to 97% ownership for us. This is where we have our highest volume units in the world and most profitable. We have one unit in Seoul that does nearly $500 million per year, 500 million. Fantastic. It's fun to go into a place like that. Taiwan was next. This is another inherited partnership. This time a 45 relationship with us being controlled. Today we have 9 locations here, and we think we'll get to 25 over time in a population of about 27 million people. That's followed by Japan, 99. Fabulous market for us, probably going to be our second biggest market in the world over time. 127 million people that like to save money on quality merchandise. Today we have 15 locations, and we'll add 5 more there just this year, and probably 5 more a year for the foreseeable future. It's a great market. And then Australia opened in 2009, first building in Melbourne. Took off right away, $250 million building. We added a couple more quickly, and we've got 2 more planned this year. And then in Australia, they behave much like they do in Canada, so we think over time, on a population of 22 to 23 million people, we'll probably get to 50 or 60 locations there. And then our newest adventure is on the continent of Europe. We have people on the ground in both Spain and France, and we expect to be open there in the next 18 to 24 months. Just an eye chart for you. This is how we go about deciding where in the world to put our business. On the left-hand side is a list of variables, and across the top is various countries in the world, and we score these and weight these various variables and come up with scores, and it gives us a talking place to begin when we try to decide where this is next. I got this coincidentally from a book that I used at the University of Portland. It's like 20 plus years ago. The company thought I was a genius. We don't change much in our business. You'll find that when you go to a different country and you walk in the door, use your Costco card, it's valid there, of course, that we look very much like we live in Portland or Clackamas. It's very similar assortment of televisions, and the brands are very familiar. We do change things in the food department a bit with live oysters, yes, we sell live oysters, and crab, and sea cucumbers, and octopus, and so on. But what we do change is the design of the buildings themselves. And we prefer to have a North American single-floor shopping experience. It's very efficient, but big plots of property are difficult to come by. So we have various other levels, multi-level with parking, and then multi-sales floor and multi-level. So I'll go through a couple of those. This is the typical North American footprint. We do have some of these in Asia, but not many. We do have a lot of them in the UK that fit this. Not quite as big a space. Probably about 10 to 12 acres rather than 14. This is an example of a multi-level Costco. This one happens to be in Japan. It's our home office. We have single floor shopping at the bottom and 2 floors of parking above. This is a shot of one of those in Busan, South Korea, where you park on the bottom, or park all our shopping and receiving is on one level at the bottom, and 2 floors of parking above. And this is the multi-floor, multi-parking version, 2 floors of shopping, and then 3 to 4 floors of parking. Probably the most efficient model, but it allows us to get onto properties as small as 2 acres. That's what this building is. Here you enter the building and go down underground 2 floors to start your shopping experience. You work your way up to the checkouts and then parking above ground. This is how people move in these multi-level buildings. These travelators actually have lock-in wheels on our carts that pull the carts up and down so they don't run away. This is a shot of our home office in just outside of Sydney, a suburb called Auburn. And one of the things that we don't change is the mission. As business students, you probably run across a lot of mission statements. The beauty of this one is it's easy and clean, it travels well, it's easy to explain, and it's basically to continue to provide our members with quality goods and services at the lowest prices possible. That's what we do for a living. It drives our buying decisions, it drives the efficiency of our operation. We have SG&A costs of below 10%. That's all the costs of operating the business, under 10%. That's the way we get to our low prices. We work with suppliers to create efficiencies all the way through the system. Everything we do is to drive prices down. We look at a piece of merchandise and say, not how much can we charge for this? That's what a typical retailer would look at. We look at it and say, how low can we go on the price? Because that drives sales. We really call ourselves a top-line company because driving the sales drives efficiency and lowers our expense ratios. We follow this basic code of ethics too around the world, and it's really formed the foundation of how we operate the business. And it's helped create the brand, if you call us a brand today. It begins with obeying the law, and this is true in every market in the world, and especially true international, where we have to abide by the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FCPA, which basically says that if you're a U.S. business doing business anywhere in the world, you can't be involved in bribery or paying gratuities to government officials for favors and that sort of thing. So we take a lot of care in doing that. And if you've read the headlines, one of our major competitors ran into some problems in Mexico a while back, and it's costing them billions of dollars and trying to unravel the problems that are associated with that. So obeying the law involves labor laws, packaging laws, all the laws of different countries, and it's top of our list. The second point is taking care of our customers. This is important to a retail operation. We guarantee everything we sell, guarantee membership as well. So if people aren't happy with what they bought from us, we back it up and we guarantee it. We want people to be satisfied. When people pay a fee to shop there, our obligation is to provide them good stuff at cheap prices. So we spend a lot of time and care on that. The third point is take care of our employees. And this is really, it's a nice thing to do. It feels good, but it's also a strong competitive advantage for us, because by taking care of employees, that means paying the best wages in retail, having the best benefit packages, looking after their needs when the problems arise, providing great opportunities for growth and so on. By doing that, we have a far lower ratio of turnover than any of our competitors. Brand X, the biggest retailer in the world, has turnover somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 45% as far as we can tell. Ours is less than 10%. And that saves a lot of money, first of all, because you're not constantly training and retraining people, going out and having to hire more and more people every year. You replenish half your staff. It also creates a loyalty and efficiency and an expertise by providing people with jobs where they can earn a living wage and they can support their families. It goes a long way in helping us operate the business efficiently. And I put a couple of copies of an article that some of you may have picked up about the value. It's from the Harvard Business Review. The value of taking care of employees and providing good jobs. It really is a competitive advantage for us. And we do the same in every country. And the fourth point here is respect suppliers. And this goes a long way, especially when you're developing a business. And we go back to the Cheerios example in the 80s. By paying our bills on time, by honoring our commitments. Is that for me? relationship, a partnership with suppliers. And nobody wants to come into a new country and give Costco great prices because it offends all their existing customers. So we have to work our way into their hearts, just like we did with the good folks at General Mills. So this fourth point is key. If you take all those together, it's really a strategy of looking after all the stakeholders in the business and doing that as a conscious business decision. We know if we do all these four things right and consistently, that over time we'll reward our shareholders and build confidence in our business. Okay. Leadership's a huge topic. Probably could spend the next 6 hours talking about leadership and not even scratch the surface, but Peter's back there waving his arms saying, you've got not 6 hours, you've got 6 minutes, so I'll move quickly. I could make the next 6 minutes seem like 6 hours. I'll just focus on a few key elements that I've observed to be essential in various leaders I've come across. There's no specific model for a leader these days. There's no size, shape, age, race, or gender requirements. But leaders today must have a basic set of characteristics. They've got to have integrity. They've got to be good listeners. They have to be able to communicate. They have to have vision and provide vision. But they also have to have the desire and the willingness to lead. Because there's a great deal of responsibility in being a leader of a company or an organization, as I found out from the people that closed down my former employer. But in addition to things like integrity, willingness to lead, and so on, there's three other key components, in my view. First is ability. You have to be able to perform in your position. You have to know what you're doing. You have to have had the technical expertise in running the business. You have to know, it's hard to BS your employees. You've got to be transparent because they can see right through the bluffing. In our business, we like people to start from the bottom and work their way up. We like people to start pushing carts and working in stocking, cashiering, so they understand the business. So if somebody has a desire to join our company, I left some business cards back there. They have to spend a couple of years in our warehouses to really understand how the business works, how the rubber hits the road, how the goods move through the business and so on. So we require that. The second part of ability is, for a leader, is having an understanding of human behavior. And you will get that either on the job or you'll maybe have the benefit of attending a university where you get exposed to Maslow and Hertzberg and Likert and the like. But you have to understand what motivates people and how to motivate people. For me, I was fortunate to have a class on leadership that had a book about situational leadership. It really took all of the elements of the best thinking at the time and put them into a framework called situational leadership, where you would read situations and by what you read in the individual or in the group, you apply whatever leadership style was appropriate. You did that to be effective. So I learned how to be an effective leader through that program. So ability is number one. The second point is determination. Now this is the ingredient that comes from within. It's that sort of inner drive. It's that thing that pushes people through difficult times and obstacles. And there are a lot of obstacles, not only in business, but in life. And it's this drive that helps people get through it. Probably shouldn't say this, but I have this sort of FU gene in me, that when people say you can't do this, or this can't be done, or this is the challenge and you're not going to be able to do it, I dig in my heels and I go forward with it. And I think people in leadership positions have to have this, because there are people in opposition. Look at our president as an example. And the last point I'll leave you with is compassion. Compassion, there's a lot of problems in the world. It's a scary place. We have natural disasters, man-made disasters. We've got problems with economies. We've got sort of growing inequity between classes. and it's likely not to get any better. But our people are likely to be affected by these things. And while we can't solve all the world's problems, we can influence the people we lead by injecting our own humanity. I believe that people come into organizations and jobs to do good work. They don't come in to screw up. But the reality is that people often have a variety of issues going on in their lives, in work, out of work, that can impact their performance and the performance of the organization. And to the extent possible, we need to be able to provide what we can to help them be successful. So as leaders and future leaders, I'd encourage you to lead with your heart, just as I know you lead with your head. Thank you. Yes, a few minutes for questions.
Yeah, what barriers to entry did you face when you entered the Asian market in the late 80s? I mean, they're notoriously anti-competitive, especially Japan, Taiwan, and Singapore.
The question was, what barriers to entry did we face when we went into Asia? Well, I'll give you a Japan example. Japan's an interesting case because it has multi-level distribution channels. There was no such thing as buying directly from a manufacturer and shipping it into a store. There were a series of middlemen that added costs. So that was one of the barriers to entry. We had to crack that nut, and we did that over time by some of the things I mentioned about prospective suppliers. I think we always have a natural barrier to entry just because we charge a fee for people to get in, or for people to get in the building. And that's true in Tennessee, and it's true in Taipei, and it's true around the world. So we have this natural built-in barrier. So we have to prove ourselves to our customer base. I think we've run into some issues with regard to real estate, particularly in a market like Korea. They passed a lot of legislation recently about anti-big boxes and supporting the small mom-and-pop stores from the big Chibos. Chibos are these big conglomerates in Korea that typically control a lot of retail as well as a lot of other industries. And there's some big movements in that country to limit growth, especially in big boxes like ours. We serve a market somewhere in between retail and wholesale. We do a lot of our business with small to medium-sized businesses. So we have a softer retail impact story in South Korea than the other big boxes. So we sort of maneuver around those questions. But nobody is really anti-American, I don't think. The way we set up our countries too, we tend to just put in one or two, maybe three expats from either the United States or from another one of our businesses. And then we tend to hire everybody else local, because the strategy is to pull those expats out eventually and have local people run it. So we get around a lot of the cultural issues and complications, and we understand the business that much better. Yes?
What do you enjoy most about being a leader?
What do I enjoy most about being a leader? Well, besides the money, the fame and fortune, I get inspired. You know, when you get to be 60 years old and your life's work is working with people, and you see them progress, that is really extremely gratifying. I was just in Asia a couple of weeks ago, and spent a couple of weeks in Asia and Australia, and went into our businesses in all 4 countries where we operate there, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and Australia. And I saw 3 buildings, well, actually I made more than that, but 3 buildings that were so beautifully merchandised, so well executed, so far from home. And no coincidence that the best looking buildings, the best merchandise, the cleanest, just the shockingly beautiful. Those managers were also the best managers of people. And that is really gratifying, is to know that you had something to do with instilling those values from those 2 slides and how we run the business, doing it that far from home. When you see that, that is inspiring in itself. You know, so that's just one example. Yes.
Could you explain a little bit about Kirkland Solutions, Kirkland's signature brand, and how it sort of, I guess, brings value to Costco, or what purpose it serves?
There is a strategy behind our private label, and our strategy is about driving sales. And we never sell below cost, and we never sell above 14%. So that's our parameters for our buyers in every country. When companies do private label, they typically do it to gain more margin because they don't have to spend money on the brand and their advertising campaigns. They can take that to margin. So a typical grocery store might make 25% on a can of tuna. We take a maximum of 14%, oftentimes much lower. So our strategy with that is to create products of very, very high quality. I mentioned the Kirkland Signature Canned Chicken. It's an outstanding item. My wife here eats it every day. And sometimes she gives me some. But it's a fantastic spec, a very high spec. And we do the same thing with the luggage. Our signature luggage is patterned after Tumi, the same materials. Our dress shirts are very high quality with super buttons and so on. We try to build quality, a national brand or higher in all those products, and then sell it at a ridiculous, stupid price. Like that tie that Kramer was talking about. It's made in the Armani plant, so it's made of the same materials, and it's made in the same plant actually. So the strategy is to drive sales, providing great stuff at great prices. We are a little stupid in this marketing stuff. We call everything Kirkland Signature, even our fine wines and dress shirts. So, but we take a very simple approach. We think there's a competitive advantage of trying to keep things simple. The bigger a company gets, the more complicated it gets, the more directions it can go. So we really have an internal focus on kind of keeping things simple. So we just have one name for all our stuff, and that's Kirkland. Hope that answers. Yes.
You have along the way in your career, maybe one or two key mentors, and maybe share kind of what you learned as you went through the process.
The question was, do I have one or two mentors that I run across that have helped? I've been really fortunate in my life and my career, but you know, one of the famous golfers said the luckier I get, or the harder I work, the luckier I get, and that was part of this thing. So I always looked at myself first and tried to be the best at every job, including the cart pushing job. And along the way, people take notice of that. And I was fortunate enough to have worked with a guy at Gemco, this store that closed, who was also an assistant manager with me as we were moving up. And then Costco started, and he moved up to the Northwest, and I continued on, and I closed the store I was with 200 sad employees, and I stuck it out. But I saw him one day, and I said, any jobs at Costco? And because he knew of my background and experience, he said, you know, give us a resume. Even on a piece of yellow legal pad, just jot it down. So I wrote up my resume and gave it to him in pencil. And as it turns out, some 30 years later, he was named CEO and president of our company. And he's president today, and I work for him. That was one of those examples where you run across somebody in your life at some odd point, and that was a long time ago. But as a result of hard work and doing the right things for yourself, people take notice and people take an interest in you. And I think that's probably the best example I've had. There's been many, and I go back to my first store manager at the grocery store. I can still remember him as a great, compassionate leader. And I use him examples of at different times in my life. And he was very instrumental in helping me. There are a couple. Yes.
So Costco is known for economies of scale and line. How does the system affect Hershey business growth?
The question about Costco is known for economies of scale and bulk buying, and how do we deal with perishables and fresh foods? We typically, because we only have 3,500 items in our business, 3,500 items, our buyers become real experts in those Now, if you compare ourselves to Walmart, Supercenter, or Fred Meyer, they have 120,000 different items. We have 3,500. Big difference. So we become very focused on the items that we sell. So we're able to determine when to get in and when to get out of products, how much to bring in, at what time, so we avoid serious markdowns or changes in season. For example, it's not a perishable item, but Christmas trees. Christmas trees will come in early and they'll be out in hopefully November before the peak selling time, because we don't want to have to take markdown on that. And the same thing is true in fresh products and in meat and bakery and deli and some of the other areas. We are so focused on that handful of items that we know the rate of sale pretty well. Now, in our rotisserie chickens, which is $4.99 by the way, for the biggest rotisserie chicken on the planet, greatest buy for a student. One of the big rates of beer at cheap prices. My daughter's in the back rolling her eyes. We become experts in that. The rotisserie chicken, if we have 10 of them left at the end of the night, we do what we call harvesting, where we take the white meat, the chicken breast, and we debone it, and we put it in enchiladas for the next day. We freeze chill it and put it in enchiladas. So there's ways of minimizing the risks in certain products. But basically it's because we know our products pretty well. We try to buy the best quality. When we get it into our system, it's at a certain spec and it should hold its life pretty well. Yes? The question relates to Costco and sustainability. And I know I'm really short on time because you moved into the position. So this is maybe the last question. We've become a big company with only 3,500 different items. So we have a real strong business case for getting involved at a real low level with farmers. And we do it with chocolate, we do it with coffee, we do it with a variety of products. Let's see, coffee, almond, cashews is another one that we really focus on, because we have this high spec of cashews. It's a super large cashew, and there's not that many in the world, and as our appetite becomes bigger and bigger as a company for selling these things, we can't source enough of these great big cashews, so we have to get involved really at the granular level with farmers. And we do that with coffee and chocolate and some other products too, to make sure that we have a steady source of supply. And to do that, we make sure that the farmer is being paid well, that we provide some schooling, we provide a lot of resources at the really low level, including farming expertise, so they can get better crops with better yields. So they get paid better, everything improves along that channel, and we can have them locked in as a supplier. Because the bigger we get, the harder it is to find some of these key products, especially at the quality level that we seek to have. So we get involved at a very granular level there. We certainly pay attention to the problems that are associated with certain species of fish, and we take advice from the huge organizations that monitor these things and back away from carrying those types of things. So we need to be a global citizen, and in many cases, there's a strong business case to do that. We don't get out there and advertise what we do on sustainability because we're just not that kind of girl. We take a kind of a low-key approach to our business. We don't advertise a lot of the things that we do. Well, thank you very much for your attention.